Hi, I'm Wendy Northcross, CEO of the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to welcome you to our second 20-Minute Tuesday. It's a video series that we are producing in partnership with the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod. And each month we focus on a different business topic of interest to businesses in the region and matters that impact all of us. So today we're very pleased to have Gary DellaPosta, who's a certified public accountant located in Falmouth, and he is a member of the board of directors of the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod. And along with Gary is Rob Carey, also of the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod. They're here to tell us the ins and the outs of the various state and federal assistance programs that were available to businesses this year, especially any tax implications of such programs. So welcome, Gary. Welcome, Rob. Nice to see you. Gary, why don't you start and just give us a quick overview of you and what your business does?
Thank you, Wendy. I'm a CPA, as Wendy said, in Falmouth. We serve all of the Cape and Islands. And our niche is small businesses. That's predominantly what we handle is small businesses, taxes for them, and consulting for them.
Great. And Rob, tell us about your position at the bank and what it entails.
Thanks, Wendy. My name is Rob Carey. I'm a relationship manager for the bank. My role as a relationship manager is interacting with business customers to really understand their needs and wants, and find solutions, whether that's a bank product such as commercial loans or cash management, or introducing them to a subject matter expert like an attorney, CPA such as Gary DellaPosta, to help them grow their business.
Excellent, thank you. So Rob, the first question I have today is for you. We've heard that there are a lot of different types of these assistance programs available to businesses, and many companies took advantage of the programs throughout the pandemic. Can you tell us about the different types of the assistance programs that were available, and if any of these programs are currently available?
Yeah, the biggest one that everyone has been hearing about is a Paycheck protection program, the PPP. That actually closed in August. There has been some discussions for round two funding, but those discussions have been delayed in Congress. So right now there's no round two for PPP. The next biggest program that has had a lot of traction is the economic injury disaster loans, or EIDL loans. That is still available. You actually apply directly through the SBA for those. It's been tweaked since it was originally launched. They had a grant portion for it. The first $1,000 to $10,000 was a grant. That part of it's no longer available, so it's just the loan portion. There are a number of other smaller programs, not as well known, that under the CARES Act. Two of them in regards to the SBA 504 and 7A loans. The SBA 504 loan, which is for commercial real estate, the SBA actually made up to 6 months of payments. What was nice about this program, the customer didn't have to do anything for it. It was automatic that the SBA did that. The second one is the SBA 7A loan. 7A loan is a term loan, something for equipment or smaller needs to there. The 7A loan, there was a step that needed to be done either by the customer or the bank to apply for those loans. So if the bank, such as a Coop, applied for those loans, then the individual was getting up to 6 months of payments for that. There's some other smaller programs, state programs as well. I actually learned of one just yesterday done by Lowe's for $18 million. It's only open until December 6th. So there are programs that are, going on out there. You just kind of have to pay attention to it. Unfortunately, there's no website that says, here's the newest thing. So you really got to stay in touch either with your banker, CPA, or chamber member, to find out what's going on.
You're right. We actually found out about that Lowe's program rather quickly and turned it around and got that information out to members. So it pays to open your emails from the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. So, okay. My next question is for you, Gary. We know that the PPP loans were very popular They were most readily available to businesses, and that several thousands of these loans provided a lifeline to entities on the Cape. But now that these businesses have the PPP loans and are planning their year-end taxes, are there any tax consequences to businesses or things business owners should be asking their accountant about as they do year-end preparation?
Yeah, Wendy, they are the most popular, and the tax consequences related to them. The CARES Act specifically stated that the forgiveness of these PPP loans would not be taxable, because normally forgiveness of debt is a taxable event for you. However, in April, shortly thereafter, the IRS issued their own guidance on the taxability of the PPP loans. And while they agreed that the forgiveness was not taxable, they are taking a position that the PPP loan is in fact a reimbursement of expenses. So when you got the PPP loan, in order to get it forgiven, you had to spend that money on payroll, employee benefits, rent, and utilities over a 24-week period. Those are the reimbursable expenses. So the IRS's current position is that reimbursable expenses are non-deductible. Therefore, we're back at, if this loan is forgiven, it becomes a taxable event to the business. Now, after the IRS issued their guidance, several high members of Congress, including the chairman of the Finance Committee, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, they all wrote to the Treasury Department and said this was not the intent of Congress when they did this. This was to be purely a benefit to businesses, to help them survive, to keep their people employed, and in no way was this going to be taxable. The IRS has, at this point, ignored the issue, and in fact, 2 weeks ago, issued additional guidance on the matter regarding kind of gaming the system as to what year you wanted to pay the tax, in 2020 or in the tax year 2021. And their guidance now says there's no gaming of the system. When you incurred those expenses that you're using to get the loan forgiven, that's when you have to pay the tax on it. So that's where the PPP loan in the tax situation currently stands. Now, I will tell you this morning, there's a bill in the House and a bill in the Senate to correct this issue and correct it in favor of the taxpayer. But we all know how that moves along really slowly. So we're hoping that by the end of the year, this will get corrected.
So just to reiterate, Gary, it's a good point. Today is December 2nd. Things change. Once this 20-minute Tuesday production goes into wide distribution, it could be heard a few days from now. So it's really worth people's time and attention to double check with their accountant, check in with the bank website, check with the Cape Cod Chamber, see if anything's changed there, because this is huge. I mean, people they grabbed those loans quickly and did not do a lot of research. They were hedging, I think, their own financial bets on what was going to happen with the pandemic. So now to find that there's tax implications is a really important issue here. It's probably the crux of what we're trying to tell people today. So in terms of anything else relative to tax consequences, are there any of the other loans, the EIDL loans, any of that have a tax nuance as well?
Yes, the economic injury disaster grant, that was that one from $1,000 to $10,000. That was a grant, and so that's taxable. That also has the effect, Wendy, of when you go to apply for forgiveness, that amount will not be forgiven. So if you received a $10,000 EIDL grant, that's taxable income to you, but it reduces the amount of your PPP loan that can be forgiven. So if you received 150,000 in PPP loan, 10,000 in the grant, only 140,000 of the PPP loan can be forgiven.
Interesting.
The EIDL loans, Wendy, are loans. They're 30-year loans to be repaid. There's no real tax effect to it. And any of the other grants at this point are also taxable.
Interesting. Rob, I'm going to ask you the next question. We've heard on the news and we've seen warnings actually on the Coop website and in your social media feeds that there's a lot of money flowing out there, and following that there are a lot of scams. So, we're seeing the warnings. Can you tell me about what you've seen or have heard about what some of these scams are so we can be aware of that?
Thanks, Wendy. Yep, there are definitely heightened scams that we've been seeing. As you had mentioned, under the business section of the Coop's website, we have a dedicated page to COVID-19 information for businesses, which also has information on fraud. We also have a security center on the website that addresses many of these common scams. Unfortunately, fraudsters have followed the money, and SBA and a lot of these programs are their current target. The only scam that I've heard recently, and again, this was issued by the SBA out of Boston, was that there are individuals that are coming to businesses, saying that they are part of the SBA, they're imposters, and asking for business records or to view the business. The SBA does not do this. They do not conduct any site visits. So I would never, allow anybody to see any of your business records or access to your business. But that's the one that's been getting the most buzz recently. But I haven't seen that specifically on the Cape.
Oh, that's pretty brazen. Gary, so is there anything else businesses should be aware of relating to taxes? Any other course corrections that, we're coming up on the end of the calendar year. December 31st is when we start planning for next year, but certainly as we're wrapping up this year and this tax year, what else should we be thinking about?
Well, one of the things I know we're speaking about with our clients, especially the ones who got the EIDL loans, is that if you read the loan documents, there's a lot of severe restrictions on them to these small business owners. And especially with the proliferation of S corporations, that's the way most small businesses are operating. They cannot repay money to themselves. They can't take distributions of profits from their S corps, which many typically do at the end of the year to pay their own income taxes. Those things are prohibited under the SBA EIDL loan and possibly put you in default. So with our clients who have these loans, what we're looking to do is prior to the end of the year is have them cure those problems. If they did pay some money out to themselves, somehow pay the money back into the corporation so that they will not be in violation of these provisions. Other than that, the biggest issue still is this PPP loan forgiveness, and we're hoping Congress does the right thing and makes that go away, because many small businesses spent the money as they were instructed to do on their employees, and now potentially face a tax consequence with no funds to pay for that tax consequence.
So what are you advising your clients to pay the tax, extend their time to file? Is there, some kind of, as we're waiting for Congress to make good on their promise, is there some special thing we should ask our accountant? Can I extend my payback time frame?
Wendy, that's absolutely right. What we're doing, we're dealing with our September and October fiscal years right now. Some of those returns are due December 15th and the others January 15th. We're preparing the return like Congress is going to fix the issue. because I'm an optimist at heart. And, however, as we approach the deadline, we've told our clients we'll file an extension, which gives them 6 months, 6 additional months from the filing deadline to see if this issue gets cured.
Wow. Well, I think it's one of those stay tuned for the next installment of what happens. And the ball is in Congress's court at the moment, right?
Absolutely.
Sounds like it. I do know that quite a few nonprofit organizations were eligible for and applied and got PPP loans. Now, as a nonprofit, you don't have to pay business taxes, but there are things called tax liabilities around unrelated business income that nonprofits may have to pay. So are nonprofits affected by these tax implications for the PPP loans?
The IRS at this point hasn't issued any guidance that I've seen on nonprofits and the forgiveness of the loans and whether they're taxable under the unrelated business income tax. I'd say if the funds were used for operations, I think the nonprofits are going to be just fine and there shouldn't be any tax implications for them. But stay tuned.
Well, thanks, Gary. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate you being here today. That wraps up today's 20-Minute Tuesday. We are producing this every month, and the next video series will be in January. And we'll be discussing a new year, a fresh start for your business, and how businesses can plan for 2021. Maybe we'll have some interesting news coming from Congress, and the tax implications might be cleared up by them. But I'd like to remind our viewers and listeners that if you have any questions or if you have a topic that you would like us to address, please visit the link below and fill out the brief survey. We promise we will respond to you. And again, we want to thank the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod for partnering with us, making this video series possible. And we look forward to seeing you the next time and hope you stay well until then. Thank you.